We've been spoilt with a really buoyant market following the complete freeze in hiring during the pandemic. Everyone's been going crazy, making up for lost time and recruiting like mad. And us recruiters have been making hay for 18 months or so. But now things are changing. There's a lot of uncertainty in the market and the landscape looks different again. People who haven't had to do any cold business generation are realising that they need to. Those that we've worked with have transitioned to a retained model and they've transformed their business. And now they need the best scalable strategy to consistently generate new business for retained work. They don't want to use the generic blanket email spam approach that the contingent agencies use, or the time-consuming, soul-destroying old school cold calling tactics. But they don't have the black book or brand that the Shrek firms have to fall back on. We were talking recently with our members about BD, and every time we talk about business development, at the moment, we always immediately talk about marketing. The first thing that came up was email automation. One of our members shared that each week he talks to his data and automation team. He explained that these are often ex-recruiters, those who like being attached to the tech stack. They're switched on by automation and process. And he shares with this team what he's hearing from his clients, insights he has into what the market's doing and how they're responding to that. Then these guys go away and they create a series of emails in his tone of voice, personalised and targeted to their ideal clients. He explained that these emails don't look like marketing emails. They look like they're from him. And then they send the emails to carefully segmented audiences, which are tailored by sector, seniority and location. Robin is currently completing on a $300k base salary search, a lead generated by this approach. It's a trial for the next piece of work with the same client. 15 executive mandates and just under $2 million in fees. Another of our members then started talking about how he'd figured out that what clients value isn't necessarily the primary service that he provides. He said he used to be worried about going into meetings with senior clients, but after 10, 20 executive level meetings, he realised that what they wanted to know the most was how he could find out what was going on over there. So he came out of those meetings with a list of who wanted to know what about who. And he realised there and then that this was his currency. Of course, he knew the importance of being very careful about who with and how he shared the information. Some of it can only be shared one-to-one in person, but some of it can demonstrate immense value to prospects when shared at a higher level on a wider scale. So he now uses a mix of high-level and targeted content, which is a blend of insights and knowledge together with direct C-suite candidate marketing. And it works for him. For Dave, now 25% of all his team's retained work comes from email campaigns. But careful automated email marketing is just a small part of the overall machine. We went on to cover the other component parts: brand messaging, LinkedIn organic content, paid advertising, and SEO, and how all these things fit into the wider system. We went into the detail of how we use Linked Helper in conjunction with Crunchbase and Phantom Buster to automate the growth of our organic audiences. And we used this diagram to show how it all fits together.
Inputs are what you put into the system. It's website traffic and people becoming aware of you. Processes are what happens to attract these inputs. So in Robin's case, it's using targeted, automated email approaches to ideal clients. For one of our other members, Nick, it's a carefully curated podcast. And for Paul, it's all of these things. Outputs is what we get out, which is leads, website inquiries, and ultimately customers. Inputs and processes directly affect outputs. So if you put in rubbish, you'll get rubbish out. So if you do the blanket email approach, you don't tailor your messaging or segment your audience, then you're likely to receive irrelevant leads that aren't interested in working retained. Now, every part of this system is interconnected. Nothing works in solo, and in fact this system fits seamlessly into the sales system, fed from insights from the sales team and producing warm call lists. So when Robin makes a call, he knows exactly who to call. He knows who is most engaged with his content that he's sharing, and he already has a feel for their pain and challenges before he picks up the phone. The system itself can be affected by external elements and the environment. This system doesn't just operate in a vacuum. It's affected by the economy and what's going on in your industry. So, for example, if your competitors start doing this before you do. And it doesn't just stop with outputs. The most important part of the machine is feedback, as this feeds the output. Feedback includes your clients' results, testimonials, and case studies. It also includes the knowledge you gain from gaining outputs. So if we take the example of email automation, once we receive outputs, we'll begin to understand what works well and what doesn't. So what email types, cadence, or segmentations bring in desirable outputs and which don't. All of this knowledge then improves the processes and has an effect on the quality of the inputs, so the people that we're targeting. And inputs directly affect outputs. So if you want to increase your outputs, you need to increase your inputs. So Dave knows exactly how many emails he needs to send to secure an assignment. If he wants to secure more assignments, he sends more emails. But Dave, Nick, and Robin, they are ahead of the curve. Most retained search firms aren't good at this stuff yet. And I know this can feel overwhelming when you're looking at it as a whole and when you see people who are pretty advanced at this, particularly if you don't have much experience in digital marketing. The three main pieces of advice here are: number one, test it out on a small scale. To make sure it brings in desirable outputs, use the feedback loop to make improvements. Getting the first lead is always the hardest, but once you have proof of concept, you know it works. Number two is just take one thing at a time. We've used email automation as an example, but you might want to start with LinkedIn organic posting, which is what we did. Or you might prefer to do a podcast like Nick. And finally, with all these things, it's about consistency. There is a compound interest effect. So don't expect everyone to convert on your first email, but at the same time, don't think if you get radio silence that no one is listening.
After this conversation, we went on to talk about how to scope the position for a marketing specialist, how to hire and reward them, and later that day we moved on to delivery, discussing process, tools and resources, and retained search researchers, how to assess them and how to structure their compensation packages. And that was just the first day. So if you're working on retained work, you're already ahead of the standard contingent agencies. But you might be thinking, I'm not sure where we go from here. How do we scale on a retained basis? What are other search firms doing? And how can we do it better? If so, you have two choices. You can waste a whole lot of time trying to figure this stuff out on your own through trial and error. Or you can be a part of a group of people doing the same thing as you, some of whom are already nailing it, all of whom are willing to share their learnings. So you can shortcut all that time trying to figure it out on your own. It helps to keep you focused when you get distracted, helps you overcome the challenges along the way, and stops you getting lost in a maze of tech. Being in a mastermind gives you a peer group, a support network, and a much greater probability of getting to where you want to go. Let me tell you about Search Mastery. It's a mastermind, and we go for 12 months. There's a hard limit of 50 people, and basically it's for business owners or leaders who are already at 50% retained or more. If this is you, then you're probably struggling with scaling, growing, and structuring your search business or function. Probably finding, hiring, managing and rewarding researchers and sales consultants, and moving up the value chain to the C-suite and the big six-figure fees. You're probably finding it challenging to win and structure bigger, more sophisticated pieces of work and choosing the right tools and software. So here's how it works. As soon as you join, you get a one-to-one onboarding call with me personally, where we'll map out your plan for the year. We'll dig into your team, your market, your strategy, where you are at the moment and where you want to get to, and we'll map out the plan together. And then we have live events. So we do 4 events each year. They go for 2 days each. 2 are in person and 2 are virtual via Zoom. And this year, this is what it looks like. So this year, our first event was the 27th and the 28th of March. It was virtual via Zoom. And then the next one, our July event, is in person in Dubai. And our third event is the 25th and 26th of September, which is virtual via Zoom. And then our Q4 event is the 4th and 5th of December in London, UK. So that's when the events are happening this year. 2 in person, 2 virtual, 4 per year, once every quarter. I find it helps to do these things quarterly because you set your goals for the year and then you get to come together with this group every quarter and see how you're going against your goals and see how others are going. And some people that might have problems that you have, but you don't quite know how to articulate them yet. But when you see the group resolve the problems, you can apply them too. Plus, there's just this amazing energy that comes from hanging out with a group of people who are doing the exact same thing as you. And we record all the events, so if you can't attend them, then you don't need to worry because the recordings are all available online. So inside this mastermind, online we have a community where people post and they comment, and we've got a classroom where all the event recordings go, so all the past event recordings are here. There's also a calendar which shows you the collab calls, when they're happening, the event, so the whole year is already planned out. We also give you all the tools that we've used at this level and all the tools that get shared by members. And you get access to our school community where you can hang out with all the other members. And we do this weekly collab call via Zoom where you can ask everyone questions live. And then there's the accountability. So I check in with you personally every quarter, holding you accountable to the plan that we set at the start. So you've got the personal one-to-one accountability time with me at the start and then every quarter. You have the quarterly events, 2 in person, 2 are virtual. You have the weekly collaboration calls, and you've got this community of people here that you can chat to, post, comment, whenever you want. So this is a really awesome thing that's come together kind of organically over the last couple of years. And that's what our Search Mastery Mastermind is and how it works. Everyone in here is focused on taking their search firm to the next level, either scaling and growing or going higher up into the C-suite or developing their suite of services into more complex and strategic projects. And everyone is sharing these things. Debbie, for example, sharing an example of an executive candidate briefing document. Rory sharing a recent win and asking for advice in a new region. Neil asking for help with his new podcast. It's a really helpful place. So Search Mastery is for you if you are already at 50% retained or more and you want to scale and grow your team, or you want to go up the value chain and develop more complex service offerings. Basically, if you resonate with all of this and you want to be a part of it, then Search Mastery is a good fit. And right now is the perfect time because we have a quarter until the next event. So you can have the one-to-one onboarding call with me, we'll go over your business, we'll set your plan, and we'll get to work on it right away, attending the collab calls and meeting everyone else. And then at the event, you'll get to find out what they're all doing and how they're overcoming their challenges and what's working and what's not. So if you want to be a part of this, there should be a link below this video and you should be able to book a call with me where you'll tell me about your business, where you are at the moment, where you want to get to, and we'll figure out if it's a good fit or not. And if it is, we'll get you enrolled right away and we can book your one-to-one call in and then we can get to work. Now, like I said, there is a cap of 50 per year and we're already at 24 people right now. So it'll probably fill up since we're doing this little promotion here. So if you want to get in, now's the time to do it because it will fill up. So click the button, book a call, let's talk, and if it's a good fit, let's do it. And let's make this year your best year yet.